Live from southern Israel, this is BBC News. Israel steps up its airstrikes on Gaza. The army says it's hit 150 Hamas targets overnight.
The ground forces entered and continued expanding the ground force operations. Infantry, engineering and artillery are accompanied by heavy gunfire.
This is the scene live in Gaza. Our correspondent there, Rushdie Abu-Alouf, says it's been total chaos.
A state of panic, fear and chaos. Very chaotic scenes in the street. I have been driving through the city of Khan Yunis this morning. Less people, but more panic.
The UN General Assembly votes to adopt a resolution put forward by Arab countries calling for a humanitarian truce. Hello, I'm Anna Foster, live in southern Israel, and this is BBC News, where you can hear in the background the continuing sound of an Israeli intensification of its airstrikes here on Gaza, which you can see in the background just behind me now, and that has followed an increased amount of operation there overnight. We've heard from the Israel Defense Forces who have talked about artillery, they've talked about infantry troops and tanks, they've talked about air support and sea support as well. It has been a significant escalation overnight that we've seen of the operation that is happening in Gaza. Through the night we saw bright flashes and loud explosions lighting up the night sky above the territory and could be heard from all around here in southern Israel and across Gaza. Now, this all comes after the Israeli army said that it was, in its words, expanding its ground operations in Gaza. A spokesman for the Israeli government wouldn't confirm that this heralded the start of that much anticipated ground offensive against Hamas, which has been talked about a lot in the last few weeks. The armed wing of Hamas, which is a proscribed terror organisation by the UK and the USA, as well as other countries around the world, has said that it is involved in violent confrontations with Israeli forces in northern and central Gaza. There's also been rocket fire from the territory into southern Israel, again overnight and through this morning as well. Well, this is the scene I want to show you live now in Gaza. You can see the level of damage that has been caused there from 3 weeks of increasingly intensifying bombardment. The United Nations has warned of what it described as an unprecedented avalanche of human suffering there. The UN General Assembly last night called for an immediate humanitarian truce. Well, let's just bring you up to date on some of the latest developments from the last few hours. The Israeli military says that it has hit 150 underground targets in the north of Gaza overnight. That could refer to tunnels, but it hasn't been specified, and Israel hasn't said how it carried out those attacks, nor if there were any casualties that were sustained as a result of them. The Israel Defense Force says it also carried out a targeted strike which killed a senior Hamas military leader. It claims that Assem Abu Rakaba took part in actually planning those attacks here in Israel on the 7th of October. Hamas has not confirmed that death. What Hamas has said is that its fighters have been clashing with Israeli troops in two parts of Gaza, in Beit Hanun, which is in the northeast of the Gaza Strip, and Al Burej, which is in the central area. And the Palestinian Red Crescent says that Israeli bombardments have led to phone and internet services being cut off overnight, not just for the civilian population there, but we've heard from humanitarian organisations as well. Well, our correspondent in Gaza, Rushdie Abu-Alouf, who has been following this throughout, as you know, has described the scene as total chaos overnight. He said there was panic everywhere. We'll hear more from him in just a moment. From Gaza. He is in Khan Yunis in Gaza. But first of all, let's get the very latest from our correspondent, Wira Davis.